Hi, everybody. Welcome to another off season episode. I am solo this episode, and I will be discussing episode 2 and 3 of Virgins. If you haven't listened, I did cover the premiere episode with Jason, so just look for that. And it was a fun time seeing what the premiere was about. And if you haven't also listened to the latest episode of our Maps rewatch, I talk about how I was out of town and I am behind on everything, but I did catch up on Virgins. But before I go into the show, just a little housekeeping for you out there, reminding you that I do have a Patreon. And on that Patreon, you have options where you can listen to regular episodes ad free. You can listen to bonus episodes where I talk about other shows. I have past episodes from 90 Day Hunt for Love. I have one up for Survivor. I have a new episode with Aid where we talk about the Sister Wives 101. And every now and then I cover Love is Blind. So just a whole bunch of different episodes and different choices on different reality shows that you can check out. And if you do not want to be a paid member, you can also be a free member and you still have access to chat with other fellow like minded people of reality TV shows and share your opinions in our community chat over there. And just a reminder that The Ultimatum is now streaming. I will be covering that and just look for that sometime next week. And also, I am a guest on the Perfect Match podcast with Jason and Asia, and we counted down the worst wives on maps, and that was such a fun thing to do. Um, I do have another podcast. It is called Sex in the City: The Rewatch, where I watched all seasons of Sex in the City, but right now we are covering And Just Like That. So you can subscribe to that and follow to get your weekly recaps of the TV show. I do have a interview with Alexis that's up. I have way past interviews where you can check out interviews with Lauren, interviews with Nicole from past seasons, and also Dr. Pepper. And also, if you are not listening to the recaps for the rewatch, you just check out this episode just where I share my running, where I run into Beth from season 9 because what are the odds? And also Tyler from Love is Blind. It was just a fun random uh run in that I share with you guys. I have no mailbag on this episode, but just a reminder that if you have any questions, if you have any comments or anything that you want my opinion on, you can send it in and I will read it out on the episode. And yeah, I think that is all of that. And I would just dive into Virgins. So, like I said in the premiere episode recap, I expected this to be like a regular TLC show where it's all good, the premise is all great, but then it just kind of fizzles out. And I think that's where it is for me. Episode 2 and 3 was not that riveting, and I don't know where they're headed. I don't know how many episodes we have for the season because for a show like I think Poly Family, where it was just 6 episodes, and we thought that it came from nowhere, but um what's her name, Tyler, I think that was on the show, Taya on the show says that it was always going to be 6 episodes. I don't know how true that is, but I don't know what the plan is with this, but I'm kind of losing steam on this. But I'd like to know what you guys think about this. Does this still hold your attention? Do you like the direction that it's going? Maybe it's just me. So I'll go down the list with the 4 participants on this, and we have Alex, and Alex is going speed dating. This is episode 2 and 3, by the way. So Alex is going speed dating with his sisters. And I mentioned this the last time. I'm so glad that he has his sisters, but he needs friends. Like, there are just certain things that you should be doing with your friends. And I think we came to a consensus last week that for all these people, for the fact that they're still virgins at this age, haven't dated and things like that, it has to be something psychological in the background that just hasn't been delved into. So, and I think that's the other thing. We still don't know what Alex does for work. And it doesn't seem like he has friends outside of his sisters. So, I don't know. There's just something to be said when you can't date and you don't have friends at all or of the opposite sex, because I think that provides like a more insight into the opposite sex. So his sister takes him for speed dating, which he doesn't know. And then we find out that it's Tantra speed dating that requires touching. Again, seems kind of weird that your sister will bring you to that. And it just seems more suited, like something you would do with a friend. So yeah, he does that. He does connect with someone, does ask her on a date. And is she a paid actor? I don't know. A lot of these people that are meeting up in my brain feel like paid actors. And there's something missing with the authenticity of the show that I can't quite pinpoint. But they have good chemistry and it seems to be going well. And I'm glad for him that he actually made that connection with that. So he goes to wax his chest. That's his 40-year-old virgin. I think they were very on the nose with that, except he didn't yell no Kelly Clarkson. He said he was gonna do his chest and his back, but I think they only did the chest. And I was just like, ouch, ouch, ouch when he was done. He was so red, and I can't imagine how much pain he was in because they also used strips on him. So, and even then, you could see like the top of his shoulders, they were still like stacked with hair. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He did say he would not be doing this again. So he does have a moment. I appreciate the fact that Alex does his confessionals in his bedroom on his bed. And one thing about Alex, his bed is always made. I appreciate that a lot. But he has a moment where he gets sad and he says that, maybe he peaked in high school and it's not, where he should be in life. And, he kind of tears up, but I don't know what he means by he peaked in high school because he did say they were laughing at him in high school. But maybe it's to the point Jason made where he didn't look bad. He didn't look bad at all in high school. Not that he looks bad now. He really just needs a trim and a shave, which he actually does. And he looks good. And the date looked fine. And again, she says and confirms that, they had chemistry and it was great. And he asked her out on a second date. But he still hasn't told her that he is a virgin. So we'll see if that affects it. But I think he's making progress. I think he just needs to not be hard on himself, and the things that he doesn't like, he can change. He just gets really bad anxiety when he talks when he tries to talk to women. And he seems to be the only one who has not gone to a professional, him and Deanne, I believe, to figure out, what's going on that, because maybe this is PTSD from when I think he was the one who got laughed at on a date. I can't remember. He was bullied or something like that. So we'll see. But he has potential. And now with this haircut, he looks a lot more like Barry Watson from Seventh Heaven. So good for him. So we move on to Rasha. Rasha, if you remember, is the 41-year-old divorced virgin who is very out there, very boisterous, for lack of a better word. And she sheds more light on how she gained so much weight because she's a bigger lady. And she said she was already big, but then after the divorce, she just, gained so much weight because she was eating so much and eating her feelings. So she moved back in with her parents to heal. But then she had weight loss surgery and she lost 81 pounds. She also tells us that she has never been on a date before, which I don't know, but that tracks because she's the one who told us that she did not have interest in men until her 20s. So I think that tracks. Um, she's in the house with her mom and her sister, and it's so crazy how they all look alike. At first, I was like, oh, her sister looks so much like her, but then they sat down and they all just look crazy alike. Her mom is wondering why she isn't telling the guys online that she's a virgin because she sits down and she's back on the apps and she's doing a slideshow, which I thought was so cool. And doing a slideshow and showing her mom and her sister all the people that she's chatting with, which they blurred out, by the way. So we couldn't actually see the guys. Although, if there are people that you actually know, I think you'd be able to tell who that person was. But she's telling them and they're deciding who she should go out on a date with. And her mom's point of view on this whole thing is that she should be proud that she's a virgin, that you don't see that a lot, and at her age and holding out this long, and the right man will be proud of her. And I don't know, I think her mom is on a different side of the pond on that, but that's where she stands on that. So after sharing all the potentials, they pick somebody and she's going to ask them out to go on a date. The thing about Rasha is, and I believe we said that on the premiere, Rasha is exhibit A of someone who watches too much porn and not existing in the real life. You know how they always say, like, when you're in high school, those people who talk about sex so much are the people that are not having it. That is Rasha. Rasha is always talking about, oh, am I nasty? Oh, I want nasty this. I want to be smacked. I want to be this. I want to do that. She has just built up what nasty sex is in her mind, and she's talking to her mom, and her mom is like, none of that is going to happen in my house. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's not. Like, I think I'm loud anyways. Like, how do you know that you're loud? You have never had sex. Like, I think I just don't understand how, for someone who talks so much about it, she just hasn't done it. Like, there's just a dissonance between how much she talks about it, how dirty and nasty she talks about it, and then just never done it and never even been on a date. And you'd be married and nothing happens. So, granted, the married has an asterisk beside it, but yeah, there's that. So she goes on a date, and she goes on a date with Zach. Zach is a white man. And she says that she has been thinking about him sexually, and she's been putting in her thoughts. He has been putting her in handcuffs, and he's been spanking her and tickling her hole. She laughs, and that's what I mean. Like, she's doing too much. Like, so he says that he thinks that she's pretty. He likes her style. I caught a little hint of a black scent, but I don't know if that's how he talks regularly, or if because he's with her, that's why he's talking that way. But Rasha's like, she does not believe his compliments, and she thinks that he's lying. And I felt sad for her, because you should never. I think her last marriage did a number on her confidence. So this that. But she says that eventually she starts, I think, getting comfortable, and they're having conversations, they're having banter, and then she tells him that she is a virgin and asks him if he thinks that that is okay. He says he doesn't know. And like, is she religious like that? Because he's not religious. And she's like, no, I'm not religious, and I'm not waiting for marriage. I just haven't had sex. So he says that he's surprised, and more of what his concern is what kind of past experiences have happened to her that she has not been able to have sex, but he does enjoy the spicy conversations that they have. So they start laughing and enjoying. They're doing like candle making. It's what they're doing. And he's like, we'll break that barrier sooner or later. And then they laugh at the double entendre. But I don't know. Her thinking like, oh, is this the man? Is he the one? Is he the one that I'm gonna have sex with and have rough sex with? And that's a lot. It's just a first date. Let's calm down, settle down, and let's relax. So we come back, and she tells us that she does like a selfie cam type thing, and tells us like a lot has happened, and she wants to give us an update that she set up a date for a selfie showroom thing, because she sent him a picture of her Halloween costume, which she was Velma. It was really cute though. She looked really cute in that picture. And then she wanted to do like a selfie showroom, and then he just says, see you tomorrow for that stupid selfie shit. That is rude. And she's like, that was a red flag for her. And she's just like, from her marriage, she's learned about things like that. And she is not going to let anyone, make her feel that way. And she will not be seeing him again. And she ended things. And I'll be curious why he thought to say that. Maybe he was just trying to give her reasons to end it. And anyways, it is ended. She has decided that she's into BDSM and likes being tied up. So she goes to some rope class for some, I think, Japanese rope tying, where she was just, ooh, ah, ooh. She's tied up by a man that calls himself Scarecrow. And she's self conscious about being lifted by the ropes because of her weight. But she is lifted. She really enjoys it. She enjoys being spanked by with the flogger. And she's like, she just needs a man that's going to tie her up, that's going to spank her. And is that too much to ask? I think at some point a vibrator came into play, and he was just putting it on the ropes. And I don't know, no kink shaming here, but she was very into it. But like I said, I think she's living in a fantasy, and she has just escalated something that is not reality. And I want this woman to have sex just so she can be in reality and then decide for sure what she wants, instead of recreating what she has seen in the many number of porn that she has watched. So we go to Sonali. Sonali's story is basically medical. Last we ended in the episode, she was going to see her doctor, and the doctor does diagnose her with vaginismus. And I can't believe that she's never heard of it before, because if she's 37 and she has issues inserting things, that would be the first thing that I would think of. But I should not underestimate the number of women that actually don't know a lot about the our many body parts. But she said she's never heard of it before, and the doctor introduces her to a dilator, and she is panicking. So she's panicking, but wants to know how long before she can make love, because remember, she can't say the word sex, she only calls it making love. And the doctor is like, it'll be like at least 8 months. And she's like, oh my god, why would it be 8 months? That's gonna take an eternity. And I'm like, you waited 37 years, like what is an extra 8 months if you're gonna get it right? At this point, you're uncomfortable when the doctor just went in just a little bit, so let's do the work so you can get it right. So at some point, she takes the dilator. They give her different sizes, and she is in her bedroom. And when she is trying to insert it, and she says, I can't believe I'm doing this on camera, I'm like, Sonali, I cannot believe it either. I talk a lot about how reality show is not my steez. I don't think I can ever be on camera. I give them kudos for being vulnerable and sharing these things with us, but I don't know, taking off your underwear, watching her take off her underwear, insert that in is kind of a lot. And I'm also reminded that the producer is there, because the producer just asked her like, how does that feel? And I'm like, oh my god, the producer's there, the cameraman is there, like there's a whole bunch of people there, and kudos to her for sharing, because I could never. So her doctor has recommended she sees a sex therapist, and this sex therapist just rubbed me the wrong way. I like, listen, everybody thinks that once you get a medical professional, that's who you need to stick with, but sometimes you got to fill them out and see if it's a good fit. And I'm not Sonali, but I would this would not be a good fit for me, because she's right. I don't think the sex therapist took into consideration, like, listen, this is a cultural, this part cultural thing, this part all that. The sex therapist diagnosis is like, Sonali has like a juvenile approach, that she might be stuck in adolescence, and Sonali just seems visibly uncomfortable, and I don't feel like the therapist took the time out to make her comfortable. You can't say, and then you're just putting all these things on her when you yourself are saying that she's stuck in adolescence, and you're throwing all these things on her. She brings up the fact that she might need a sexual surrogate, and a sexual surrogate, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Is someone that is trained to help them feel more comfortable in a sexual capacity. And then she's like, it could be all the way to intercourse, it could be just touch, that you just need to set clear parameters. And I'm like, what's the difference between this and a paid escort, and then just having an intimacy coordinator around? Like, it just didn't seem like something Sonali would be into. And that's there's a gap. There's a gap. You can't go from this woman who's telling you that nothing's been inserted, nothing's ever been done, I'm uncomfortable. I came from a background where I'm Indian American and my parents are Indian, and I couldn't date no boys, no anything. And then you tell her you should get a sexual surrogate. Like, you're missing many steps in between. And then you said that she needs to feel safe and feel comfortable, and then you bring this. I just think that's terrible. So for me, this therapist was a fail. And then the last words that she tells Sonali is, because Sonali's like, what do you mean? Like, why would I get a surrogate? And the therapist is like, well, you need to make changes. These changes, because it's mental. And quite frankly, I didn't like her tone. I didn't like her tone. I didn't like her demeanor. I didn't like that. So Sonali should have walked out, honestly. I think I agree with the fact that she's stuck in adolescence, because saying that you fall in love with just one kiss, that's kind of wild. But she should have done things to make Sonali more comfortable. And that's where we end with that. We'll see what she does. And I don't think she needs to see a sexual circuit yet. Like, it's just, that's too much. That's just going to make her more uncomfortable. And I just met the lady and I don't even have degrees, So we'll see. So the final person is Deanne. Deanne is who we just thought, what is wrong with this lady? Because she's 35, and like we said, she's, conventionally pretty, or what society at large would consider attractive. And I think I get a clear sense of what's happening here. She says that she gets a matchmaker, and she's speaking with the matchmaker. And I mean, in her confessional, she's telling us like she just wants to get out the way. She just wants to have sex, and she just wants to, basically catch up. And she tells the matchmaker that she wants a pretty face. She wants someone like Liam Hemsworth. And, I'm like, it just like my armchair diagnosis is like she's making unrealistic goals that she never has to meet that would delay her having sex. Yes, she's saying that she wants to date and she wants to have sex and all that, but I don't think she really wants to. But if she says that, you can't argue with someone if they have chemistry or not. We can only go by someone and saying, oh, there's no spark or not. But for every single person, there's no spark. The matchmaker is telling her, like, you kind of have to be realistic, and what you're looking for is a pretty face. But for someone who is going to understand your situation where you've never had sex, you might need someone that's kind and that's patient. And she's like, yeah, I hear you, but I don't think she knows that I do anything that I can set my mind to. But, ma'am, Miss Deanne, if you can do anything you set your mind to, why haven't you found a man? Why haven't you had the sex that you want to have? You're telling me that in all of the, I'm not going to say 35 years because I don't assume that she's looking for someone in her younger years, but in at least in the last 15 years, let me put it that way. In the last 15 years, you have not found anyone that you have a spark with. That's again a whole different problem. So, like I said, Alex and Deanne are the only ones who have not gone to a therapist, or if they did, I forgot, but to go sort what that is about. And I don't think we've met her family. We met her friends. We see her friends a lot, but it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic is. So she goes on a blind date. The blind date, she says, is her first real date. And something about Deanne is kind of scary because she just seems really off. She's presenting as normal, but it's wrapped up in I don't know. She's playing a bubbly, normal character, but there's something just every time she talks that seems a little off. So as soon as the guy comes, his name is Ricardo, she's just like, nope, she's not. I mean, I don't blame her. He was dressed kind of funny, but other than that, he was a decent guy. He's okay. And she's like, yeah, I just know this is not my guy. I don't have any spark. I don't have anything. And it seems like this is what she does all the time. Like, and no one is attractive to her. But the waiter comes by, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, yeah, like he's very cute. I like him. And that was just funny to me. And the producer singles him out and was like, oh, is she attractive? And he was like, yeah. I was like, would you date her? He's like, yeah, I am off the market. I am not available. I don't want. So his girlfriend should be very proud of him. He was like, nope, no, ma'am. I don't want anything to do with that. You can literally see Deanne check out. It's just a blank look, a blank face, and she's not interested. And she gives him a hug and she's like, yeah, I'm out. I think I was more offended by what she wore to the date. Like, I don't know, she could have worn something better. So she tells us how she is tired of being single, allegedly, and how she doesn't see it's a problem that she has no spark or chemistry with anyone. I don't know how she doesn't know she's the problem. Like, again, if you have encountered so many men, you don't have an issue, finding men. Uh, do a self check. Do a self check. So they're boxing, and she's getting frustrated that her friends are calling her out because there were some guys over there. And she's like, they asked her, do you find any of the guys attractive here? And she goes, no. Then they point out some guys, and she's like, oh, I'm sure they're too young. They're like, okay, let's go find out if they're age. So that if the age is not a problem, then let's move on. And then she gets frustrated. And then she's like, I hate when I tell people that there's no chemistry and then they keep going on me. You go do it. I have no thing. So that makes me feel pretty sure in the fact that she's making unrealistic goals because she never just wants to do it, contrary to the fact that she's telling us that yes, she wants to date and have sex. So we'll see. In the previews, we see that she's gonna be in the vicinity of many men, and I think she does find one attractive, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think in general in the show, I don't know if I'm gonna continue watching. Maybe I'll look up to see how many episodes and see if I can make it through. But I don't find the characters as riveting anymore, and I just can't tell the direction. If anything else, I'm curious to see where Rhasha and Sonali end. Deanne, I don't know. I'm just over her. Alex, I think like he'll be okay. I think his problem is just like he has low self confidence, and if things work out with his speed date with Andrea, his second date, like I think he could make some progress. But Rasha, just I want to see her bridge the gap between wanting to have nasty sex and if she does. So if anything, if there is a reunion, like a where are they now to see how they progress, I'll be interested to see how that goes. And then with Sonali, because hers is kind of medical, I'm curious to see how that goes. In the previews, it shows like she gets really frustrated and uncomfortable. So it could be a fake out, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Virgins if you're still watching, if you're still interested, and happy to chat with you. And you can contact me on any of the social medias on AutoCall MAFS on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads, or on Blue Sky. And please leave me a 5-star rating. I would appreciate it on Apple Podcasts on Spotify. And until next time in the off season episode, I will catch you then. Bye, guys.